Alright, what's up YouTube? The Mummy Dust here, back with another Sinister Cup video. So in today's video we are going to be going over my 4-1 run in the Sinister Cup in the verified 40 group. So this is against people who have been verified to be level 40. They also have to meet other requirements, so there's going to be no such thing as an easy match in this cup. So going over my team, I am using the 3-ball strategy or 3 shadow baller strategy. So found out that I really like shadow ball in this cup. There are some contradictions to it, and we'll get over that when we look at some of the opponent's teams in the cup as to when you should not try to run specific ghosts against teams that have specific Pokemon on them. So we do have Haunter, Legacy Haunter with the Shadow Ball and Shadow Punch, Alolan Marowak running Fire Spin, Bone Club, not Bulldoze, Bone Club, and Shadow Ball, Medicham running Counter, Dynamic Punch, and Psychic. We'll get into that, as well as Poliwrath running Bubble, Dynamic Punch, and Ice Punch, Steelix running Dragon Tail, Crunch, and Earthquake, and Drifblim running the standard Hex, Ominous Wind, and Shadow Ball set. So we're going to go ahead and get into some of the battles here. My first opponent is running Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak, Steelix, Dusclops, which is one of the things that's kind of hard to deal with, Bastiodon, which is the hardest thing to deal with, and Cresselia, which is one of the other ones that's really hard. So Mawile is the other one. But looking at that team, we do see the double steal strategy. So running triple ghost is completely out of the option. Running double fighter is an option. However, he does have Cresselia. So Cresselia pretty much knocks Haunter out of the equation. So does Bastiodon. So we're not going to run that. We're definitely going to want to bring Poliwrath, as Poliwrath handles everything on the team except for Cresselia, and it would be a tie with the mirror match as well. So let's go ahead and get into the video here. So for our first round opponent, Dark City, we are going to be running Alolan Marowak, Poliwrath as pretty much a safe switch, thinking that he'll probably lead with Cresselia against my team because I do have so many ghosts and double fighters. So the only three Pokemon that are okay against Cresselia are Alolan Marowak, Drifblim, Steelix, and that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and go into the first battle here against Dark City and see how things go. So we're leading off with that Alolan Marowak. He leads off with Bastiodon, which is absolutely terrible for us, but we are going to go ahead and build up a little bit of energy here and wait for him. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and fight it out, because we do have another ghost in the back, so we can make them expend their energy, and then we will be able to swap into Poliwrath once the Alolan Marowak goes down and have a ghost in the back. So we're going to build up to another Bone Club here, just going straight Bone Club on this Bastiodon, trying to get it out of the way so that our Drifblim can be our Shadow Baller and hopefully finish the rest of the Pokemon that are brought. Hopefully he doesn't bring a Steelix as well. So we go down, we're going to go ahead and bring in the Poliwrath. Actually, did I switch to Steelix? I might be running Steelix as my last one. We're going to bring Poliwrath in and just farm down the Bastiodon. We absolutely do not care what Bastiodon throws at us at all. And in comes Dusclops. So at this point we do have an energy gain advantage, so we're just going to be going for straight Ice Punches to try and knock this thing down as far as you can. So Dusclops and Poliwrath are kind of like a tie. They're pretty even for the most part. So depending on your energy and everything, it can come out differently. So we're going to go ahead and switch into the Steelix, and we do not catch the Shadow Punch. We do get hit with a Fire Punch, which sucks, and then he swaps in his Poliwrath. So at this point, it is pretty much game over for us. I did want to talk about the Sinister Cup. I absolutely love Sinister Cup. I did not like it at all at first, but then things got changed with the move change up, Fire Spin getting added to Alolan Marowak, Banette coming in with Return later in the meta, things like that. So I absolutely do love the Sinister Cup meta. Let me know if you guys like the Sinister Cup meta in the comments below. I would like to see what you guys think. So far, actually, I think it's my favorite cup. It's really balanced. I don't think I use the same team twice. So I did use a bunch of different Pokemon, some different strategies, different move sets. You didn't know what Poliwrath was going to carry. Things like that. It just made it absolutely amazing. Metachan had different move sets. I've even seen a Fire Blast Alolan Marowak. So in Game 2, we are going to lead with Drifloon, and we're just going to go ahead and try and get that buff first. Sometimes it's good to go for Shadow Ball. I feel like Cresselia, it's not going to matter. They're not going to shield that first one anyways. Actually, he did, so I was pretty shocked there. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Shadow Ball now, since he did burn a shield. He's either going to have to burn both shields on the Drifloon or let it go down. So at this point, we're sitting really good. He does switch the Drifloon out, and then we're going to go for another Shadow Ball. Same situation. He either has to eat this Shadow Ball, or he has to let the... Oh, no, I'm sorry. He burned both his shields already, so I knew the Shadow Ball was going through. It does come through clean, and we take out the Dusclops. Back comes Cresselia, but this is the whole point of running the double Shadow Ball strategy, or in some cases triple. You're not running triple Shadow Ball against Cresselia. It's not happening. Unless they don't have Bastiodon. It actually is possible. You just want to make sure that the Haunter doesn't get lined up against it. So if you guys are doing the last minute, literally last minute, today and tomorrow are the last days, Sinister Cup, you can try out the Shadow Baller strategy, but this is pretty much what I used. I don't want to necessarily give away what I used before the tournaments started, so I am finished with Sinister Cup now. I do have another one. I don't know if I'm going to upload it or not. It was a tournament that I did extremely well in as well, so if you guys do want to see that, please let me know. Hopefully we can hit like 50 likes on this video. Would be absolutely amazing. I think that's like a third of my subs, but I think we can reach it. I put a lot of work into this video, so I would appreciate it very much. And then, so the Metachan does come in and clean up the Poliwrath. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. I really, really do love the Sinister Cup. It is a ton of fun. So we do win the second match. We're going to go ahead and go into Game 3 against Dark City here, and hopefully we can replicate that win. So Poliwrath and Steelix and Dusclops seems to be the most common set of three that I did run up against. So if I did see the opponent's team with those three on it, I figured that they would probably bring one of those. They would bring that line of three in at least one of the matches, or at least one of the games. In this case, this person's team is extremely scary, so I'm going to go ahead and double check it, come back in, and we're going to go ahead and switch things up, I think. But it's, like I said, his team is extremely scary because it has Bastiodon and Cresselia, which are both pretty hard ghost counters, and I'm running triple ghost. So, and I only have the one steel type, so I basically need to bring a fighter and a steel or a double fighter, or I have to get everything lined up right. So we do get a bad lead here. We're going to go ahead and switch into Alolan Marowak because Alolan Marowak is our safest switch. Even against Poliwrath, it still does extremely well. Ice Punch isn't going to do too much unless it's running Hydro Pump. And most of the time, they're not going to be running Hydro Pump unless it's a Mud Shot. At this point, we already did know the Poliwrath moveset, so we know for sure that the Marowak is a safe switch. So here we're going to go for a Shadow Ball, and they either have to shield or they have to eat it. He decides to eat it, and we're back in this match now. And Steelix, being his other Pokemon, he had no choice but to switch into his Poliwrath against the Alolan Marowak. I really should have shielded there. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I was like, well, I do have the Metachan, and Metachan pretty much isn't going to do anything against Cresselia. He does switch into Cresselia, and we have our second Shadow Baller. So, as Hero Vange would say, it's Shadow Ball time. Let's go. We got a shield advantage, and we got a Shadow Baller, so we're going to go ahead and bait for the first one because he did shield an Ominous Wind in that first game, so we're going to see if he does it again, and he does. So we called that. We got lucky. We're going to go ahead and shield this as well, and now we can go ahead and beat that Cresselia to the Shadow Ball. Or it's not Shadow Ball time. I'm sorry. It's Ominous Wind time. I didn't even realize he had two shields, so we got extremely lucky there that he shielded both of those. But down goes our Cresselia. So as you guys can see, I'm sure you're aware of it. Sometimes you get an extra fast move in when opponents use their charge moves. So it is something that I hope Niantic can fix, but there are some ways to take advantage of the fact that you do get fast moves in sometimes when they do their charge moves. You also have to be wary that your opponent is going to try and take advantage of that as well. So that's our first round. We did end up winning 2-1 against Darth Zitty. So let's go ahead and get into round number 2. Round number 2, we're going up against Bassoon Wrath, who is running Dusclops, Driftbloom, Poliwrath, that's not even close to a Haunter, Steelix, Mawile, and Medicham. So she does have Dusclops, which is the bulkier of the ghosts, so it's harder to defeat with your ghost-type Pokemon, and Mawile, which will absolutely tear into both Drifloon and Haunter, so we're definitely going to be relying on Alolan Marowak here. So here we go in with our Mawile trying to catch one of the two steel type. I'm sorry, Medicham trying to catch one of the two steel types or the Poliwrath, and we do catch Drifloon, which is not a good situation for us. So we are going to look to swap right away. We're going to swap into Haunter. Haunter with a lead can pretty much either eliminate both shields or do a ton of damage to an opposing Pokemon. So there she decides not to shield the Shadow Ball. So we're going to go ahead and let our Pokemon go down so that I believe that Medicham can get an advantage. I'm not sure why I let the Haunter go down there, but we're gonna bring Drifloon in to build up some energy for that mirror match, which is coming up, and she goes for the Ominous Wind. We're gonna go ahead and block, just because it could have been a Shadow Ball, and we do get hit with an extra charge move there, so that's something to be wary of, that they do have that charge move in, so you do have to count that when you are factoring in if they're going to be throwing Shadow Ball or not. At this point, we're just going to throw another Ominous Wind, and we do get both shields, and I believe we're going to shield again. We did get a couple hexes, so we should be up by at least one hex because of that. And we do get the boost, so we are going to be trying to throw this Ominous Wind. I think it survives. Boosted Ominous Wind against the Dusclops. Actually, we get to the boosted Shadow Ball, so boosted Shadow Ball time it is, and that will definitely knock out that Dusclops. So we take game 1 thanks to the boost, because we had Medicham in the back, which is going to pretty much do nothing to Dusclops. I do have Psychic on my Medicham, so there are some matches where that actually did come in handy against a situation like that. So we're going to go ahead and go into game 3, and this is a game where I make a pretty big mistake. You'll see it. We just need to bring that one fighter basically for the Mawile. So we're going to bring Alolan Marowak for Mawile, and Medicham for Poliwrath, and Steelix, and Medicham as well. I'm sorry, Mawile. So we do get the lead somewhat. Alolan Marowak does actually handle it pretty well, and we're just going to stay in this situation. It does take 3 Shadow Punches for Dusclops to take out Alolan Marowak, so we're going to be able to build up a bunch of energy. We do lose the CMP tie here, which isn't a big deal, which means that they didn't get an extra fast move in. Unfortunately, I did not either, but we're going to go for the Bone Club bait, and we don't get it, so we're going to go ahead and swap into Drifloon at this point to basically try and farm this down to have some moves ready for the next Pokemon. So I'm going to go ahead and shield here, and I think this is where I make the mistake, is there's like double Shadow Punches ready to go, or I accidentally threw the charge move. Nope. We do get the buff again. Wow, I didn't realize I got the buff 2 games in a row. So boosted Balloon, absolutely crazy. If I do post that other video, you'll see basically a boosted Drifloon literally defeating their whole team, because I got it on the first Ominous Wind. So we're going to go ahead, and this is the mistake that I made. I should have just let the Drifloon faint, because now I'm locked in with the Medicham, and in comes her Drifloon, and it's just one Drifblim. I keep calling it Drifloon. Drifblim is going to kill me with one Shadow Ball, which is not good, because Alolan Marowak barely has any health left whatsoever. Like, neither of my Pokemon have any health left. So at this point, we're pretty much screwed. Do have a Shadow Ball ready to go, though, so we are going to make it a little interesting. I think I tried to make it so it wouldn't faint, but nope, no cigar. So we did lose the second match. Like I said, all of these games are very well played by our opponents. It's definitely a very, very competitive scene in this group. Like I said, they're all level 40 players. A lot of them, at least multiple times over, specific stats that you have to hit in order to reach the group. So very, very skilled players in this group. So we're going to go ahead and go into game number 3. And I think we're just going to run the same lineup that we did before, or we might run Haunter, just making sure that we avoid the Mawile with it. This is really ballsy right here. I think I realized it and I switched it up. Yeah, there we go. There you go. You want to have two things to be able to count that Mawile. You don't want the Mawile to just chomp through your whole team. I've seen it happen. Usually happens with like a Steelix lead and they double power up punch, and then like the thing is so boosted it's not even funny. So here we do catch the Drifloon with the lead, and at this point you can pretty much just farm down the Drifloon, and then you'll have energy ready to go for the other Pokemon. I do choose to do the piggyback 2.0 thing, and it did work because you didn't see the Hex animation come in. So we do have a built up Shadow Punch and Shadow Ball ready to go. We're going to go ahead and throw that Shadow Ball, and it is blocked. We're going to save the Haunter for later, swap into Alolan Marowak. Like I said, Alolan Marowak does take 3 Shadow Punches to kill it, so we're okay there. We just need to get to the Shadow Ball, and we do. And it's Shadow Ball time. And we're going to knock out that Dusclops, and the last Pokemon, I believe, Metachan, same thing, just another Shadow Ball. And down it goes. So, I think they really should have named this the Shadow Ball Cup instead of the Sinister Cup. The Ghost-type Pokemon absolutely run rampage, especially if they have a shield and your opponent doesn't. There are very few Pokemon that can survive a Shadow Ball from either Alolan Marowak or Haunter. So in round 3, we're going up against Wolf Frogachu, running Haunter, Poliwrath, Alolan Marowak, Steelix, Lucario, haven't seen that guy yet, and Bastiodon. So Bastiodon is a contradiction to running the Triple Ghost, so we're not going to be trying that. We do see 3 Pokemon, technically 4 Pokemon, that can lose to Metachan or a fighting type, as well as Haunter does have an iffy-ish matchup against Poliwrath, so I believe we are going to run the double fighter strategy. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to lead off with Poliwrath, so we are going to run the double fighter strategy. He's running Bubble as well, so at this point we're hoping that he's not running Dynamic Punch. He did build up to it, even if he isn't, which was a great move by him because it ends up being a power-up punch, and we do shield it. We do get a Dynamic Punch off. Did miss the Excellent on it, which may end up costing us, but that fighting circles, they're always different. So then we do get the shield with the Ice Punch, and we're just going to go ahead and let our Poliwrath go down. Actually survives the Hydro Pump just barely, so we do get an Ice Punch off, so they're either going to have to spend their other shield or give up switch advantage, which they decide to give it up, and we'll see which Pokemon comes in next. It is Haunter. So for Haunter, we do have Alolan Marowak. It is not the best situation for us. Haunter absolutely, besting Alolan Marowak, and then we don't throw the Bone Club, so we're in an even worse situation here, where the Haunter is going to have a shield and we do not, and absolutely wrecked game 1. So we kind of had our own strategy used against us there, where the Haunter with a lead is going to just absolutely demolish our team. So do have to think about that now as well. So not only is Bastiodon dangerous to my Ghost, but also Haunter is, because it counters the other Ghosts, and it will tie with my own Haunter. So at this point, we run the same lineup, and we switch out Haunter and Alolan Marowak. So if he does swap in his Haunter, I can try and predict it and bring my Haunter in and basically just eliminate that, and then we're going to have a 2v2 match. So we're waiting on him to select his team here, which is, definitely understandable in these tournaments. It's a lot more competitive. It's not like practice where you literally just like, I'll just try these three or whatever. You're looking at their team, you're dissecting it, you're thinking, what are they going to use against me? What should I use against that? Like literally you could sit there for 30 minutes arguing with yourself about what you need to do, and then, it just comes down to picking 3 Pokemon, and sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. So here we lead with Poliwrath again, and we do catch Alolan Marowak. Gosh. And we're going to go ahead and use straight Ice Punch on it. This is a matchup that we can win. Even if it does throw a Shadow Ball, it does not kill the Poliwrath. But we were counting, and it was a Shadow Ball, and we shielded it. But we're going to go ahead and throw this Ice Punch to try and get that out of there. And then I predict he's going to come in with Haunter. So we're going to switch to my Haunter real quick. And he switches out. And then we're going to go ahead and try and hit this Steelix with a Shadow Punch or burn the shield. We do get the shield. We don't get the shield. So we're just going to go for Shadow Ball here to try and get the shield. Well, it doesn't really matter too much because we have 2 fighters. So at this point, he's locked in with the Steelix, so we're going to go ahead and bring in Medicham. Medicham having the worst matchup against Haunter, so we do want to save the Poliwrath for the Haunter. And we do save a shield as well, because nothing that Steelix can throw is going to kill it. We do have a Psychic ready to go, so he does have to burn that shield or it's going to die. And then we had an Ice Punch ready to go on Poliwrath, so we switch in and hit it with that Ice Punch, and we are able to take game number 2. So a lot of these, I did lose the first game, and then I had to come back and win the next 2 in order to move on. It is a really stressful situation, but at the same time, sometimes you can gain valuable information in that first game. So just remember that that information can be used later. So here he's going to bring Lucario. Remember not to get too upset. That's what I'm trying to say. Remember not to get too upset and just take advantage of the things that you did learn from the first game. So here we don't shield because we believe it is a power-up punch. We're going to go ahead and Ice Punch the Haunter. And he has to spend a shield. At this point, the Haunter does have a little bit lower health, so we are able to double shield in this scenario, and we will be able to have a charge move ready to go for the next Pokemon. So double shield, and Drifblim is going to have a Shadow Ball ready for the next Pokemon to burn that final shield or to do a ton of damage on it. We are going to throw Ominous Wind, his Steelix, so Steelix is not going to care if this is Shadow Ball or not. So no shields coming up. We're going to go ahead and throw another Shadow Ball as well, and we're going to save our shield for, I believe... Oh, no, we don't have a shield left. But we do have 2 fighters, and he has 2 Pokemon that are both weak, extremely weak to Medicham. So we're going to swap in Poliwrath after we go down, throw this Ice Punch, because his health is low enough that this should knock it out. Does burn that shield, and then is going to hit me with probably a Crunch here. Yep. Crunch doesn't kill me, but I go ahead and swap out so I don't get farmed down, possibly. And he swaps in his Lucario, which goes down instantly to Medicham, and then the Steelix will as well. So good games there. Round 3, we are running up against RWT147, and we'll just call him RWT, and he is running Alolan Marowak, Cresselia, Medicham, Steelix, Poliwrath, and Dusclops. So again, we see Cresselia and Dusclops. So it's a little bit hard to run those 3 ghosts with that lineup. So we are going to have to factor that in here. And I do see the Steelix, Poliwrath, and Dusclops combination on his team as well. So we are going to have to pay attention to that. So let's go ahead and get into the video here. And we lead off with Drifblim against Poliwrath. So this is actually a losing matchup for Drifblim because of the Ice Punch. But if you can land a Shadow Ball, it does end up being pretty good in your favor. So we're not going to shield, or if you do get the buff. So it's always a possibility to get the Ominous Wind buff. Normally, if you get the buff, then you are going to end up shielding. So we do get a shield there with the Shadow Ball, and we're just going to go ahead and try and go for another one here. So let's see if we can hit double Shadow Ball or double shield. We do hit the Shadow Ball, and then we just barely get hit by this Ice Punch. Otherwise, we would have had switch advantage. But we're going to bring in the Steelix, go ahead and feint down the Poliwrath. So unless he's running double fighter, he is going to be in some sort of situation here. So we are going to mirror match with Steelix, which is absolute mind games. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Go ahead and actually call the crunch. Then we're going to go ahead and throw our own crunch here. Hopefully we get the shield, and we do. So we're going to go ahead and hit Earthquake now. So we're either going to burn both shields. Oh no, he already burned a shield. So then he switches in Dusclops. I should have stayed in really, but we do have the 1 shield, and Marowak knows Shadow Ball, and Dusclops does not. So once again, it's Shadow Ball time. So I think we survived the Shadow Punch, and then we should be able to hit it with a Shadow Ball. There we go. And take out the Dusclops, and then we do have our Steelix with a shield against a very low Steelix without one. If the Marowak doesn't kill it first, which it does. So we did take game 1 this time, which I think was the first. No, I took game 1 in round number 2 as well. I'm going to go ahead and go straight into game number 2 here, and then I do think I changed things up. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and look at their team. Like I said, look at all those Pokemon. So those are all the Pokemon I used in the Sinister Cup. I used all of them except for Lugia and Claydol. Actually, I don't think I used Bastiodon. But I used everything else in a tournament at least. I did, like I said, I fell in love with running the Ghost type Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and run double Ghost here with Medicham, which I probably should have used Poliwrath instead because of the Dusclops. And I think some things changed as to how the piggybacking worked, where the Dusclops and Poliwrath gameplay changed a little bit. So we do catch the lead here with the Haunter. It is actually, the bubbles do a ton of damage, so if it is Power Up Punch, it could end up being an issue. I think we already saw its moveset, so we knew that it was going to be Ice Punch. We're going to go ahead and throw a Shadow Punch here, and hopefully we get to another one. So he doesn't shield it, and then we're going to go ahead and go for another one. So he's either going to shield it or the Poliwrath is going down. So he shields it, and then I think this is where I make a mistake. I probably should have saved the Haunter, but we didn't. So, hindsight's always 20/20. And then in comes Steelix. We switch into Medicham. He switches into Alolan Marowak, and it's pretty much over at this point. Alolan Marowak just walls off Medicham. I can do some damage with Psychic. I was trying to get a shield bait there, but it didn't work out. If I threw Psychic, it might have been a little bit different, but he does have a bunch of energy on me. So at this point, we're just trying to get the buff, and we don't get it. And then this is going to be Shadow Ball, I believe. Nope, Bone Club. But he does have Steelix left with a shield against Drifblim, so we're just going to try and get that buff and see if we can come back. So we go for the Ominous Wind. And we do get the buff. So at this point, we're like, okay, let's see if we can burn that shield and get to a Shadow Ball. So we do burn the shield. If we can get to a Shadow Ball, we could possibly win. Is this Crunch going to kill the boosted Drifblim? No, it's not. And we don't make it. I do not know if that Ominous Wind would have killed the Steelix or not. I was definitely just trying to get to that Shadow Ball. So game number 3, do make a similar mistake in the first round. So this is a pretty even matchup here. It does take the same number of hexes to get to Shadow Punch as it does to Ominous Wind. We try to get the shield bait here with Ominous Wind, and it doesn't work. And then we just barely don't get to that other Ominous Wind before the Shadow Punch comes in. So we're going to spend a shield, go for the Ominous Wind again. This time, hopefully we should at least get the shield, possibly a buff. We don't get it, and he goes ahead and takes out the Drifblim here with another Shadow Punch. So we're going to bring in Steelix. Steelix is going to go ahead and take a Fire Punch here. So this is also a situation where we did have some lag. Shadow Punch, actually. We did have some lag, so the first time we played this matchup, did everything exactly like this. Went for the Earthquake to burn the shield, hopefully switch to Marowak, hit this thing with a Shadow Ball, and see how it goes. But here, the first time we played, it lagged and my shield didn't go up. So if that happens, just talk to your opponent. He was really cool about it. And then you want to go in, when you go back in, play the matchup the exact same way that you did. Don't try and, Shadow Ball where you Ominous Wind or whatever, just play it out the same way that you did. Otherwise, the rematch doesn't even count because you did things differently. And you don't want to, cause an argument with somebody over, a game like this. It's all fun and everything, so just make sure that you play it out the same way that you did before. And here we're hoping we can get to the Earthquake, and we just don't in time. So I did want to do the replay. I figured that this would be the case and that I would lose, but I did want to do the replay and see if that was the case. I didn't want to lose because I hit the shield and lag came through and it didn't work. So thank you, RWT, for letting me do that replay. I appreciate it very much, and I wish you luck in your future tournaments, and hopefully Niantic can fix things so we don't have to do rematches as much. So in the final round, we do face off against Ken210, who is now actually the #1 player in Canada. So very, very tough opponent, very skilled. And his team consisted of Poliwrath, Steelix, Dusclops, Alolan Marowak, Mawile, and Cresselia. So he's got a bunch of ghost counters on my team, including the thickest ghost, Mawile, Cresselia, and Steelix. So this is going to be a very hard fought match. Pretty much the only ghost that I see on my team as even viable is Alolan Marowak. Takes out his Steelix and the Mawile. So we'll see what happens, and I actually do decide to go completely crazy and run double ghost here. So let's see how it works out. So we're going to lead with Poliwrath. And then we have Alolan Marowak as a safe switch in case it's Cresselia. And then the balloon. We have the balloon for the boost. So here we do take a Shadow Punch to the face. Like I said, this is a pretty even matchup, except for it's raining out, so Poliwrath is going to win. No, I'm just kidding. The weather doesn't have anything to do with it, but we are going to go ahead and shield the Shadow Punch. I did find that normally if you shield, they'll trade a shield with you. If you don't want to shield, then they're not going to do that. So we do hit the Ice Punch, and we're going to go ahead and build up some more energy. and we're going to take this Shadow Punch because I believe that we can survive it, and then we're going to have enough energy for double Ice Punch at this point. So we're going to Ice Punch, and then we're going to hit it again, self-piggybacking there. Piggybacking 2.0, so we did effectively eliminate a fast move there, which was pretty nice, and then we'll see who gets to the last move. He does. So his Dusclops barely, this is what I mean now, look at that. It barely beat, and I mean barely, it barely beat Poliwrath now. So it's super close, depending on how you play that matchup out. And then here comes Poliwrath, and we've already seen this. Poliwrath with Ice Punch is going to deal a lot of damage. It's not going to KO, so now we know that it is an Ice Punch. He swaps into Cresselia, mid-charge move, and he doesn't shield, and he takes a Shadow Ball. And then we're going to go ahead and switch into Marowak here, and we're just going to go ahead and try and farm up the Cresselia. And we tried to get that Bone Club in before, but we did lose the CMP tie, so unfortunately do end up wasting some energy. I do undercharge to try and get at least one more Fire Spin off. So we get another Fire Spin off. We're going to go ahead and go for the Shadow Ball, and we're just going to go ahead and try and double Shadow Ball this Poliwrath. At that point, he did not choose to shield, which actually ended up being huge because we get to, I don't think we would have got to the other Shadow Ball, but we are going to be able to feint this down with just fast moves. Swap in the Drifblim to take the Ice Punch. It wouldn't have mattered, I don't think, either way. I would have had enough fast moves between either Pokemon, so we just barely squeaked by. 1 HP and a dream. Make that one there. So that's super lucky. Very good match there, Ken, and I think the next one is extremely well as well. Yep, there we go. I should call that and then the next Pokemon. But this next match should be extremely competitive as well. So we're going to go ahead and try and figure out which Pokemon is the best to run up against him. The Mawile is scary. That's why Alolan Marowak and Poliwrath to handle it. And then Steelix just in case we catch that Cresselia in the lead. So we do face Alolan Marowak in the lead, and his Alolan Marowak is running Hex, so it isn't the hardest Steelix counter. So we're just going to go ahead and build up some energy here. Don't care if this is Shadow Ball, really don't. We're just going to go ahead and build up to the Earthquake, try and get some extra energy. Here, it could be Bone Club or Shadow Ball, both of them, which would be pretty close to feigning the Steelix, but we're going to go ahead and get the Crunch off. And then I almost did the new piggyback system, but he did get a Hex in there, so we are able to feint down, win that matchup. We did spend an extra shield though, so we'll see here. Unfortunately, I had the Crunch ready, but he beat me to the Fire Punch, which is going to take out Steelix. We're going to bring in Poliwrath because it just depleted its energy, so and it did take a little bit of damage, so this time Poliwrath should come out ahead. So we're going to go ahead and wait for his charge move to come through and then fire off our own charge move. Ice Punch, and then I think I had 2 Ice Punches ready to go, so we're going to try and piggyback as well. Nope, I was just short of it. At this point, we are going to shield. We do need to win this matchup, even if it means we don't have any shields left, because we are going to have Poliwrath with some health. And there, that time, I did have enough energy to do the double Ice Punch. So down goes the shield, in comes the Mawile, and just barely don't get to that Dynamic Punch. I thought I was going to be able to get to it, and we're going to see here whose fast moves do more damage, Mawile or Alolan Marowak. So I did build up to 2 Bone Clubs, and then literally lagged, and I was freaking out. And then it didn't even let me do the other Bone Club. It just goes down with fast moves. So at that point, I could have either just feinted down with fast moves or double Bone Club, and it was an extremely close match as well. So in the third match here, we just say, let's just go for it. I didn't get to run my strategy very much, so we are going to go ahead and run the triple ghost strategy. I only recommend running it if you are running the fire spin variant on Alolan Marowak, so that way if you catch a Steelix or a Mawile, you can handle it with that ghost. So at this point, we did finish the tournament. Total of 4-1 out of 5 rounds, and we are going to tie for second place. Unfortunately, since I did not win a bunch of my first game matches, and I had to come back from that, and then I was just kind of having fun here with this one. According to the tiebreaker, they beat me on total games won, where we had the same number of opponent wins. So if you are participating in a tournament that's like giving out prizes, or it's an 8-round tournament and you could end up tying for first place, or whatever it is, you definitely want to be trying harder in these third round matches, and you are rewarded if you do 3-0 your opponent much more. So here's the Cresselia, which is what you don't want to see when you're running Triple Ghost. But we are going to try and go for a Bone Club bait, and I guarantee it's not going to work because Ken's just too smart for that. Yep. Oh, no, it did work. Wow! He had 2 shields, so, he had to burn one at some point. So we're going to go for Shadow Ball here, but I guarantee this isn't going to work. It did work. Oh my gosh. Man, crazy stuff. But, we have Haunter in the back, which is going to do nothing to Cresselia. I think if that would have killed my Alolan Marowak, we would have been okay, because then Haunter could come in and Dusclops wouldn't have any energy, and I might be able to get to 2 Shadow Punches, which could possibly knock out Cresselia. I'm not sure, though, with that much health. But either way, we go down to that 1 confusion. So there we are. Uber Judgment, congratulations. He was the winner of the competition. Clash and Cliff was the person who tied for me with second, as well as RWT. His opponents did not have as many wins as I did, so that's why I'm higher up on the list than him. But congratulations to everybody who participated in the tournament. It was a ton of fun. Like I said, I love this cup. Ghost types for the win, but I've seen double steel, double fighting, Gardevoir, Cresselia Haunter strategy. I've seen all sorts of stuff, so this is an absolute amazing cup. I think they knocked it out of the ballpark with it. Ferocious Cup, on the other hand, I'm not too excited about it, mainly because of the things that are kind of required to participate in it. Legacy movesets, lots of Stardust, level 40 Pokemon, things like that. But we'll see how we do in that one. In this Sinister Cup meta, I did, I think, 4 tournaments. I won 2 of them. I won 2 of them. I tied for first in 1, and then I tied for second in the other 2. So I did extremely well. Like I said, if you guys want to see that other tournament that I did extremely well in, please comment down below. Leave a thumbs up on this video. It lets me know that you guys do appreciate these. And I appreciate you guys viewing and sticking around. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.